Welcome to PM Express Business Edition. Often you've heard some business owners say that, well, this guy doesn't meet my standard. I have a problem with what the universities, the tertiary institutions are churning out to my company as a businessman. What is the problem with what the universities, our business schools are giving to the corporate world? How do we bridge this gap? Is it that they don't understand what the schools are doing, and i.e. what the world of work is looking for? On PM Express Business Edition, looking at bridging the gap between the academia and the corporate world. Are the schools understanding the demands and the needs of the world of work? Well, I'll be engaging the Dean of the Business School, one of the premier business schools in Ghana, University of Ghana Business School, Professor Bawale. He's the Dean there. Be getting more understanding on what they are doing and what is the problem. All these things wrapped up on PM Express Business Edition. My name is George Rafe. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition as you look at bridging the gap between the business community and academia and the business schools in particular. And what are they doing right or wrong? Are the workers or the unions, or maybe let's say even those who own businesses, complaining too much? Professor Justice Bawale is the Dean of the University of Ghana Business School. And so thank you so much for having time for us of your busy schedule to engage us. Let me first find out, how's the school doing in this era of COVID-19?
Well, thank you for having me, and I must say that I'm excited to be on your show to talk about business and education. The University of Ghana Business School has a long history, and we are very proud of our history. We know that the circumstances are changing very fast. The business terrain is changing very fast. And as a school that prides itself of its past, we also want to be proud of our future. So we are happy to be sharing ideas with you on how we can contribute to shaping businesses in Ghana and across Africa. COVID took all of us by surprise, and but it's one of the things that we teach students. So when we teach strategic management, we tell students that you have to be prepared for eventualities. And so, but we never thought that we're going to have a situation that would push all of us out of school and would stretch our resources to the point of what we found ourselves in. So when COVID was reported, unfortunately for the business school, one of the first cases that was reported in Ghana was a student, and that student happened to be a student who was attending lectures in the University of Ghana Business School building. And so when the information came, we were one of the first targets, and so the university closed the entire university down. But we couldn't wait for long, so we needed to immediately think about what next to do. And so we were instructed to move our programs online. It was tough in the beginning because even though the university system had challenges with, moving the over 40,000 students online, it was also the case that the student side of the problem.
That is your population for the University of Ghana Business School, right?
No, the University of Ghana entirely. Yeah. We have. If you add our students at City Campus and those on distance, we have a little over 11,000 students.
That's huge.
So yes, and so, but the student side of the problem was even much Herculean because there are a lot of students who do not have a phone that is smart, and so and a lot of us come from rural areas. In some places, there's no electricity, and so to immediately ask students to be able to as it were, move online and be able to study was a major challenge. But the university dealt with it in three phases. The first was to look out for students who had capacity to move online with us. We had those that did not have the capacity, and so the university asked them to own up so we could make special arrangements for them, and we did. And so we have had to deal with them in a segmented manner. And so we moved online, and we finished the rest of the semester online. For us in business school, we also have sandwich programs. And so once we had finished the regular academic semester, we needed to think about what to do with the sandwich programs. And so we planned and we started from beginning to end of the 13 weeks. We did it in 2 months, all online. And when we finished, we wanted to get a sense of what feedback we have, and we conducted a survey. A committee has reviewed all of the processes that we went through, looking at our side, looking at the student side, and all of the other things. And for all of the indicators that we had used, we've scored, the least we scored will be 80 on each of the indicators that we had used. And so we got a sense that our students were happy, to the extent that students have asked us not to come back to the classroom.
Prof, that is what I was going to ask you again, that COVID is going to change a lot of things around, even in the academia and the business world and all the rest. There are businesses that are talking about work from home and all the rest. For the business school, looking at the feedback that you got from students on the online work and all those things, is it going to change your approach going forward? I know how, I mean, you use this word carefully, how rigid the academia is and how rigid the academic board, even trying to restructure subjects and courses, have to go to the academic board to justify it and all the rest. I mean, some will say that for schools like yours, it will be back to business as usual.
Well, I should say that, I mean, when I took over, one of the things that I had on my radar was to move some of our programs online. And that was extremely important because across the West African region, we are premier. And so people wanted to come to the business school.
By whose standards? Even though I'm an alumnus, don't worry.
Well, I will tell you, you would, and I'm happy that you use that, because we have to have indicators of the things that we see.
To make that judgment.
Yes. We started a process of, and you can see behind me, there is EFMD plaque there. We started a process of getting accreditation for what business schools are usually accredited with. 3 accredited, AMBA, EQUIS, and AACSB. And the AACSB team made up of 3 eminent former deans of premier business schools have taken us through a process of assessment. And that process usually takes every business school that attempts that process 3 years, the least. We did it in 1.5 years. We got a very clean record. And I remember that the lead of the team said, we have been to many universities in Africa. Yours, and in terms of your academic quality and the quality of the faculty that you have, we have never seen any like that. So we pride ourselves of being...
So based on that, you can classify it as a premier business school.
I have 83 faculty members. Almost 95% of them have PhDs from renowned schools across the world. We compete across the world. Let me just put on record. In the last session of promotion, I got 8 professorial promotions in a single day in the business school. You never get that happening anywhere in the
other
world.
Schools in University
Yes,
of
I'm
Ghana.
telling
So
you.
your other schools might be jealous of you.
Absolutely. So you get the sense that we have a lot of interest from students across the African region. The difficulty is that graduate education globally is now being pursued by people who are workers. So how would people leave their countries and fly to Ghana, come and write exam and all of that? There are people who are engaged, and you know the traffic in Accra. So it's so difficult for people to even travel from downtown to campus to study. And so I had been looking for opportunities to move some of my programs online. My biggest challenge had been my faculty, because people had a pushback about quality of online programs and all of that. But COVID has given me that opportunity, because now my colleagues, and not just them, but my students, are craving for more of what they tasted when COVID pushed us online.
One of your biggest challenges you also might have to deal with is not to put them in any bad light, is the academic board. Again, looking at COVID and what COVID has done, how difficult, how easy would it be for you as the business school to move to the academic board and say that, listen, because of what has happened outside. And we are supposed to be the benchmark when it comes to things done in the corporate world. How are you going to convince the academic board that we have to do this and that to make the school relevant in trying to get people across and go virtual?
I don't think that academic board in UG is a problem. The only challenge that UG has is that as a traditional university, you have too many layers of approvals that you have to go through. So you have to go from the department to the school to college academic quality assurance to graduate school board to college academic board to the main university academic board to, if it's a new program, to National Council for Tertiary Education, and and before you go to National Accreditation Board. So that process can be very tall. But in terms of academic board, everybody who is an academic board is a colleague. So you go there, and you should be able to convince people why you think that you have a case. And I think that if you don't succeed in convincing your colleagues why a particular action or decision or program should be allowed to run, then you have no business in the first place taking that out to town, because then you can't convince any business person or any students to enroll in it. And I think that our academic board and all other processes that we go through in the university have been very supportive. And you will note, if you were going through this, at every step, you would get feedback that makes your proposal better. And so you don't take them for granted. And you want to go there and you come back and you see how your program has improved. So yes, but I know that the process of getting through these take long. And that is why we have to work hard and make sure that we are able to do what depends on us as quickly as we can.
So going virtual for you is a must post-COVID-19?
So the university has taken a decision that the next academic semester, the one we are waiting to start, we're waiting for the president, fellow Ghanaians, to give us, we are waiting for the president to give us the go-ahead to start. And the university academic board has approved that this academic year should be run virtually, largely, except for units that have very small numbers who can manage. Otherwise, we are going to be running a modular system, a system that allows us to bring 2 cohorts of undergraduate students at the same time, run them in 6 weeks of lectures instead of 13 weeks and 2 weeks of revision and exam. And then once they are done, we have a session to sanitize the university, and then we bring the next batch. Graduate students are going to go through the session. And so we have the go-ahead already, save the president's directive to go virtual. So what we have done, and I told you about the earlier committee that I've asked to review the processes that we have gone through. There are several lessons that we have learned from there. Even though we did well, we think that there are a lot of things we should improve on. And we are working to ensure that we get our provost and our the provost academic to support us to implement those changes that our colleagues have recommended for us to enhance the quality of the delivery that we'll be doing next semester.
Has these concerns come up to you as a dean and being a professor, and you've also taught and continue to teach at the University of Manchester, about the fact that the corporate world often complain about even your subjects, your programming, and sometimes teaching models based on your results or your product being the student? Have these concerns come to your table, and for you, how do you take them? Is it that people are being overcritical, don't appreciate the issues? A bit of academic grilling is needed, and a bit of on-site appreciation is needed. We can't just come to school and be practical. How have you taken some of these criticisms from the corporate world?
Well, to be honest, if you are an educator, you cannot but to listen to the people who you produce your students for. And so for us, it's free consultancy, if you like. When you get somebody, a captain of industry, say, look, we think that your product have these defects. And so we take all of these, and I have listened to and have heard that. I've engaged people both in government and in business on how we can work together to ensure that we get products that fit the market. There's one thing that we always forget though. Typical universities like ours are liberal arts, usually academic universities. So what we do is largely theory, which is meant to ground our students in theory and to let them develop critical thinking skills that allow them to be able to apply what they have learned into new emerging circumstances. I mean, you finished school a couple of years ago. If we had trained you on how to use YAM phone, and that's all you could operate, but we didn't give you the capacity to manipulate or to be able to deal with any phone that comes up, it means that every now and then you have to come back to school to learn how to operate the next phone, to learn how to operate the next phone. But what universities do is to give you this adaptability that ensures that when you go out and circumstances change, you are able to change to fit those circumstances. And not just that, that you can drive the process of change so that the change is not a change that you are forced to conform to, but it is a change that you are actually driving. Now, if universities can deliver products like that, then there are a number of things we need to do. And we have been striving to do that. Apart from grounding people in the theoretical aspects of, and theory is extremely important because every life practical event has explanation in theory. So theory is important, and people must understand the root causes of things that happen for them to be able to analyze them. So theory is important, but we also try to give our students a feel of how it is like in the practical world. So as a business school, I do not have a business as a laboratory. If you got a scientist, the scientist will go into the lab and perform experiments. As a business school, I do not have that. What I have is industry in town. So your business would be, for my students who are doing marketing communications, you know, multimedia would be a laboratory where the students can come in there and begin to experiment and play with the things that they have learned. Now, if that will be possible, then we will need industry to come along with us. And that is why I have told colleagues that I've had conversations with that it is okay to give us the feedback, but go the step further and open up and allow us to be able to send you our students and for you to continue to begin to mold their thinking even before they leave the school. And we do that together. When we do that together, you will get a student who will go out there. And last semester, I got wonderful feedback from our students who had gone into industry to do a month's internship, 2 months internship, and they came back, and you should see their experience, you should listen to them. And some of them, even the way of dressing actually changed. Now, what we want industry to support us to do are things like that. So yes, we hear the feedback, we hear the complaints. The other thing which I hesitate to talk about, but your program is premier, so let me say it. One of the things that industry in Ghana hasn't helped our schools a lot is what they require when they had to employ. I get
Prof, some will say that you know that there are several complaints even about your curriculum design and all the rest. Isn't it something that you already know, Prof?
Yes, I was going to talk about the fact that industry should put that huge impact or demand not only on the universities but also on the students. So if I came out for work and I can get you because you are my friend, I can get a job irrespective of what skills I've acquired. What is the motivation for me in my next degree to want to be excellent? Because I can get a job if my father or my brother or my Christian brother or whatever knows the job. But in terms of curriculum, I agree with you. The university has a policy to revise curriculum across the university every 5 years. For those of us in the business school, because of the speed at which things are changing, we don't even have the luxury of doing it every 5 years. And so as I talk to you, I have put together 2 teams revising our graduate program and our undergraduate program. What do we want to be able to give or if you like, bring out in these curriculum reviews? 4 things mainly. Industries, especially in Ghana, isn't expanding a lot, and therefore maybe across Africa, expanding a lot, and therefore the historical posture of people finishing and getting jobs is gradually eluding us. So people must finish and be job creators themselves. So we're looking at entrepreneurship. Leadership has been a major issue in Africa. Not only political leadership, but also business leadership. And we think that we need to orient our students in this soft skills aspect. Ethics is a major issue. And so these are the three key pillars.
In one of the programs that you spoke about, as in this whole review that is ongoing, you mentioned entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
How much premium are you putting onto this, that even for all the other programs as well, it could be slotted in to be part of, because we still have even graduates coming in, still working for big firms, and they are coming in for a top-up to go and look for other jobs as well. How are we training the minds, the skill, the conscience of these students that, listen, it's also about you establishing your own business?
So a number of things we are doing. So like historically we had entrepreneur. When I was a student, even though I was a student of public administration, I studied entrepreneurship in level 300, and it was one of the courses that allowed our former lecturer, Dr. Buami, of blessed memory, may his soul rest in peace. He committed his entire life to training people in entrepreneurship. We did that. What I have seen, which is the weakness that we had, that this was again based on exam. So you learn, book entrepreneurship, you write your exam, you score an A, and then you move on. We want to change that slightly. The first thing is that we want to make sure that we have a lot. So currently we have what we call corporate executive in residence, where we bring in industry captains, people who have accomplished, entrepreneurs, to come and talk to students. And we have created this platform. So we've had some very big people serve on it before. So you come in a semester, you meet students 2-3 times. You can come, faculty would ask you questions, students can engage you, and all of that. We have also, and deep down staircase, there's a place that one of our former students has given us money. We are building an innovation and incubation hub. Our proposal for that is to ensure that we do not just have business students come out and say we will have this idea. We are trying to make sure that there's some cross-fertilization of ideas between business students and students in other areas. So, for example, agriculture, food science, pharmacy, computer science, and what have you. So students will be forced to go out there and build partners across other schools in the university. And then when they come, we will support them. Now, this is what we call industry to come and do.
Prof, we'll take a short break and we'll be coming back. I'll be asking you one of this biggest challenge about whether the biggest threat to academic competence, again, is the whom you know factor, as you spoke about. This is PM Express Business Edition, and we're looking at bridging the gap between the academia and the business school and our tertiary institution. We're engaging the Dean of the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Justice Bawali. Took a short break and we will be right back. Welcome to PM Express Business Edition. Often you've heard some business owners say that, well, this guy doesn't meet my standard. I have a problem with what the universities, the tertiary institutions are churning out to my company as a businessman. What is the problem with what the universities, our business schools are giving to the corporate world? How do we bridge this gap? Is it that they don't understand what the schools are doing, and i.e. what the world of work is looking for? On PM Express Business Edition, looking at bridging the gap between the academia and the corporate world. Are the schools understanding the demands and the needs of the world of work? Well, I'll be engaging the Dean of the Business School, one of the premier business schools in Ghana, University of Ghana Business School, Professor Bawale. He's the Dean there. Be getting more understanding on what they are doing and what is the problem. All these things wrapped up on PM Express Business Edition. My name is George Rafe. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome to PM Express Business Edition, as you look at what can be done to bridge the gap between corporate world and our business schools and the academia and the tertiary institution. We are grateful to have with us the Dean of the University of Ghana Business School. It is, or we have said, or we have been told, is the premier business school in Ghana.
We
are. Well, an alumnus, of course, and so maybe I may accept that tag as well.
You are biased. Yeah. Well, but you are the evidence of our quality, right? So,
Prof, let's look at one thing. The culture of whom you know. Do you think that it is the biggest threat to academic competence? Somebody would finish the school, get a first class in finance, he's good, he does a postgraduate program, he gets distinction, he's good, he was studious, he's out there, and he's still struggling to get a work. And we can look at the other things about whether when he was an undergrad, what was he doing in attachment and all those things. But do you think that it is the big? We'll look at the other side of it about, I would definitely employ someone I know, but for you putting on the glasses of an academician, an educator, do you think that is the biggest threat to people excelling in school?
It's a very complex question because this is not just, a problem of Ghana. It's a global problem, and in many, many places across the world. Incidentally, when I spoke about this in the U.S., I was in Georgia State University, and I was giving a lecture on ethics, culture, corruption, and all of that. And I was shocked that people didn't think that that was a major issue, that you knew somebody and therefore you could get a job through them. They didn't think that was...
In U.S., it's more institutionalized even to tip a waiter.
Exactly.
It is not a crime.
So they didn't find that as a problem. But I told them that in our case, it is because we don't have fair systems. In other places, your ability to move up, even when you have gotten that, is also based on... So this is a global problem that we are talking about here. I think it is not a problem to get introduced to somebody to say, oh, I know this young man, I know this young woman, she's a good person, look if you can employ them. I think what is a problem is that we often do not then look to see whether they have what it takes that we are looking for in the staff that we want. So you could get introduced. Elsewhere, you will still go through the processes of ensuring that you have the skill set, and if you do not, they will train you to be able to become. In our system, because of the limited number of vacancies, it doesn't give fair competition to everybody. But that does create a problem for us in terms of whether or not students want to learn or not. I think that in recent times I've had a bit of a problem. I'm worried because almost every day you get somebody calling you to say, well, I've heard that there is recruitment going on here, and they say that if you don't know anybody there, you can't get, would you want to talk for me, and all of that. Many times I found out there's no recruitment going on in the first place, but I keep asking myself, but if this is how the young people are thinking, then it's going to be difficult for anybody to even be bold enough to. So they will tell you, well, it's not about what you know. It's because, so people almost give up even before they leave school. People have given up before they leave school. And they think that, well, if I don't know anybody, then it doesn't matter what I do.
You see, that's the biggest challenge, because you are every day motivating your students to learn, even at undergrad level, to strive for excellence and all the rest. And
I tell you,
if I'm striving for excellence and when I walk out, if I don't know somebody who's the MD, who's a board chair, I would not get the job that I want. Do you see that as a bigger challenge for you?
It's rather ironical, because anytime that I've engaged, not the undergrad, but graduate students, one of the questions that I asked them in my ethics class, how many of you here got a job because you know somebody? And many times it will be just about 10% of the people who said, oh, I got my job because I knew somebody, or I did national service and then I got referred and therefore I got a job. All other people tell me, well, I got a job on my merit, you know. So there is this story, and I keep telling them, is it that everybody is not telling us the truth? Or it is that what we anticipate is happening is actually not happening? But perhaps every now than ever before, that is becoming a major concern. But as an educator, I try to disabuse the minds of my students. And I tell them that quality stands out every day. It doesn't matter how dirty gold is. It's still gold. So it doesn't matter whether or not you get a job now. Your quality will show up. In fact, your quality, even if you don't get a job, will show up in how you survive and to make a living. It will show. So when I talk to my students, I always tell them, please don't let off yourself because you think that if you do not know somebody. Build yourself up, go out there. Even if you got a job through reference, you still have to exhibit qualities that is required by the company. Otherwise, where they have good performance appraisal and systems, you will get yourself out. So it's a concern, but I think that we should not overemphasize it. I think we should just encourage young people to develop competence in themselves. I've seen young people who cannot boldly walk into a company and to talk to anybody. I have given young people an opportunity to tell me what their problem is. And I ask them, for example, somebody comes to me and says, I want a job. I say, where do you want a job? Maybe I may be. And I ask myself, if you have this kind of attitude, that you are looking for a job, you don't even know where you want the job. You don't even, know what you want for yourself. I've asked people, some comes to me, oh, can you help me? I say, how much do you need? Oh, the only maybe whatever you give me. And I say, okay, I'll give you 1 CD. They say, oh, 1 CD is not enough. But I tell them, but if you were to appear before the president, and the president asks you, what do you want? You appear before the richest man on earth. They ask you, what do you want? You say, whatever you give me. They will give you whatever. So you need to put value on yourself and be able to tell. And it is the same thing. You go for any interview, they'll ask you, how much do you expect to be paid, Mr. Abiafe? And then people say, oh, whatever you give me. Nonsense. Excuse my language.
But Prof, I appreciate your stance because of where you're coming from as an educator, but some will say that the reality out there is that still there are a lot of companies that, I remember I put out a story recently about Bank of Ghana telling us that for the quarter, the number of advertised jobs in the dailies. A retweet and the person commented that, listen, mister, before they advertise, they have settled on the people already. That is the reality out there. I engaged several people as like, George, I want to employ someone. I did it through the opening avenue. I was disappointed. Now listen, I'm going out to headhunt. I want people that I know. I want people who you can recommend to me that, George, who you think is best bet to fill this position. That is the reality.
Well, it is, but you see, we make reality. What we think, what we do, what we act is what becomes reality. So, but have we suddenly found out, for example, that referenced people do not or have the quality we are looking for? So, for example, if my students are going out there and they are bad students, that's referencing somebody, make them better. I don't think so. So I think that it is important that whilst this is a problem of referencing, there are still several people who are getting. I've sat on interviews where the preferred candidates, didn't get through. Let me tell you what. I was chairing an interview panel, and 2 people came to me. One person came and said, "Oh, this is the preferred candidate. The company wants this person." And then the other person comes to tell me, "This other candidate is the preferred person." I said, "Okay, you give me 1 minute." Then I walked to the head of the organization and asked, "Do you have a preferred candidate?" He says, "No, I want the best candidate." So I came out and sat there, and I made sure that we got the best candidate. So there are people who play around. It's one of the things that we often, people who play around with this. People, oh, this is the preferred candidate. This is this, and in some cases, people have been appointed. They have, So I think that this is my personal view. If, George, you are my brother, your cameraman is not my brother. Let's assume he is even my staunch enemy. All right? I am Dean of Business School. I want to deliver business school of excellence. You are my brother. You don't have the quality. He has the quality. I employ you as my brother because I want my brother to get a job. The business school is ditched. I employ him even though I don't know him, even though, you know, he's probably coming from somebody I, quote unquote, hate, if there's anything like that. He delivers quality. My regime as Dean of Business School will see business school making progress. And whatever it is that I'll be getting out of that, I could probably sort you out at home. You don't need to come to work. So I think industry needs to look at this so that we give people opportunity. Because one of the major problems of referees, especially if they are connected to big people, is that they pose discipline problems for the organization. How are you going to deal with the needs of the CEO who works under you and comes to work late? How are you going to deal with it? How are you going to sanction the cousin of... How are you going to deal with it? And once people see that you are unable to deal with people who are connected, who you work with, they take advantage of it. They destroy your capacity to discipline. And once the capacity to discipline in the organization, or at least to ensure that rules are enforced in the place, you are finished.
Let me also dovetail this thing, and I also mean some big tech companies in US as well, and even some commercial banks in US, even recently talked about the fact that they won't be putting premium again on degrees and certificates and postgrad and all the rest and blah blah. And for you as well, I mean, dovetailed into this question as well. How worried again when you hear some of these things that, listen, we are not going to put premiums on certificate, because we had instances where we brought in somebody who was having a first-class distinction in statistics, a first-class in accounting, public administration, and that person was wanting.
So there are two sides to that question. It is assumed that anybody who has a certificate is bad, and everybody who doesn't have a certificate is good. But it's not the case. So if somebody doesn't have a certificate, what is it that they have? We have people who are technical people. And so if I finished, for example, in our programs here, our accounting program, when you finish accounting, because we work with CA, Ghana, you actually have the opportunity to get a number of exemptions, and then you become. Somebody can go through CA, they don't have an academic degree, they also would. So you are looking at what it is that this person has. Is he a technical person, and is it a technical role you are looking for? Yes. If that is the case, you have no business looking for somebody who has a master's degree. But if it's a role that requires some level of analytical things, you know, business analytics is the order of the day now. Big data is the order of the day now. You employ a technical person and the person doesn't have the competence, they may not be able to deliver. But that is why companies must train. Okay? I've heard people say, oh, there's so much training. Every day there's training. And I said, well, even in the midst of a lot of training, we are complaining about quality. So if we don't train, then it means that we have problems. And that's why those of us in the business school, here in the business school, we have what we call the UGBS Executive Development Unit, where people go and systems are changing very fast. People need to be refreshed. Even academics, if you don't refresh yourself, if you don't publish, if you don't research, if you don't read new things, Charlie, you will become something else. All right? And you have heard stories about, people have taught with 1970 notes. They call it yellow papers. The papers have become stale and brown and all of that. So in every industry, in every profession, there's the need for upgrade. So when people say we are worried because certificates don't give, it is also what is certificate and whose certificate? What did the certificate study? All right? I've heard questions about whether or not it is, if somebody studied, for example, philosophy, classics, then it means that the person is somebody who cannot work in the banking sector. And I said, that's completely wrong. There's somebody who studied classics. There's somebody who even has studied something that is not related to history, archaeology, and they work in the banking sector. And I keep saying, look, one of the biggest problems of industry, I'm sorry to be talking, because I should be talking about myself, my university, is the issue of placing people wrongly. There is somebody who is excellent English speaker. He is horrible in mathematics. You employ this person, you put them in a mathematical role, they will fail. There are people who are good at the operational level. If you employ them and you put them at the managerial level, they will fail. We have something we call the Peters principle. Sometimes you promote somebody to their level of incompetence. This person is very good on the grounds. Everything you leave for them there, they will fix it. You get impressed. Then you say, okay, let's promote this person because he's good. You promote him to a level where he needs to use analytics. And he has no capacity to do analytics. He will be horrible. So I think it is important that we do not judge people based on what we think they should do. And that's why we talk about the total person. There are some people who are excellent on one thing, you move them to another level, they are horrible. And that is why HR must make sure that they work with the technical units to be, and that is what we call the diffuse HR. So the HR is no longer happening only at the HR unit, but and strategic HR then means that the HR must sit at the strategy level and to be able to determine what kind of people we need to be able to push the organization. So it is important to talk about the conversation and to get it to say that don't employ people, put them in wrong roles. If you employ people, do proper assessment and make sure that you put people where they can give you the best that you require of them.
Prof, we'll take a short break and come back and look at also the bit about this whole internship and other programming that closes the gap between the business schools, academia, and the world of work as well. Management weeks, you know, switching programs, people coming in to lecture at your place. How are we formalizing those programs to ensure that at least it becomes just like a step moving from the business school to the world of work? This is PM Express Business Edition, and we're looking at how can we have that love life between the schools, the business schools, and the world of work. My name is Georgia. We'll take a short break, and we will be right back. Welcome back to PM Express Business Edition. I hope you're enjoying the discussion and all the complaints that the business community will have about the business schools and tertiary schools and what is being done to address those problems. So, Prof, I get from you that in terms of you institutionalizing internship, it's really working now, or it's still a problem. I've been at the other side before, and how I complain about the people that come to me being for internship and even the orientation and what are these students looking for in internship? Is it to learn or to get other things?
Yeah. Yes, right. So internship is still a problem for us. We have
companies are still not accepting your request.
No, I tell you, and I have.
Maybe you're not doing enough, Prof.
Well, you are right. I think that, and I always like to look at the problem from us than from the outside. So I think we are not engaging companies enough. I think we are probably not using our network enough. The business school has a large alumni everywhere we are.
Today I was reading something on the wires about one CEO that's a friend, Vodafone chief executive, and I realized that she's an alumnus.
Yes. Okay. So we everywhere you go, we are there, right? The president of ECOWAS, you know, West Africa.
Even the Bank of Ghana have lots of.
Yeah, I mean, we the chocolate day we celebrated it with Bank of Ghana with KPMG, where we have more than 50% of the staff there are alumni. So I agree that we aren't doing enough. I think that as a school we haven't been out there a lot. I've gone to, for example, I was at the electricity. And then everybody that I spoke to had done one program or the another in business school. So everywhere I go, I could press, and anybody that I met was my alumni. And so maybe we aren't doing enough. And I think that we have set up here what we call the Mentoring and Student Services Unit. So the Mentoring and Student Services Unit is engaging our students, our alumni out there to make sure that we can put them in touch with our students. We have also subscribed to a software that's called Graduate. Graduate is a software that most big business schools use. So we have this, and we are now enrolling all our alumni on it, where our students can actually meet alumni and strike acquaintance. We can pair them up. You can see the profile of people and what they are doing, and students can actually look up and to get them. We are working on making sure that we enroll all of our alumni on that, to make sure that we can create more platforms. But I think that I want to use your channel to appeal to corporate Ghana. Sometimes some of the students will come and they won't really do a lot, but the psychology of being at the workplace alone gives them a certain awakening of what it is that the workplace is like, and it helps them when they come back to begin to reorient their way of learning. And I think that the corporate Ghana will be able to help us to do that. We keep sending students out in small numbers, but as I said, our vision is going to ensure that we do this on large scale. We have been careful not to make it mandatory, because if we do, then it means that if the students don't get it, they aren't going to pass. But now we are exploring the possibility of making it mandatory, and to make sure that we would support the students to be able to go out there and do something before they come back.
In trying to also make money for these universities as well, and the bridging the gap, other universities out there, they have researchers, they have a management week and all those things. How are you also working on that as a university to address those things? If there's that close connection, concerns about you meeting their demands will be addressed. A CEO comes in, talks to the students, this is what I look out for, and all the rest. One way you've addressed your
we do. I mean, our management, unfortunately this year, because of
COVID-19,
again, we weren't able to celebrate our management week. We've celebrated management week for the past 40+ years. And every year there's this week that we have had series of lectures and sessions where sometimes we literally force the students to dress corporate. You know, we have people who rep the profession they want to be in and stuff like that. And then we invite the companies to come and CEOs to come talk to our people. One of the things that we have decided to change is to be able to get one of the days where every student from the business school will be out of here. So you have to go to town, and it will be we are going to segregate put the students in groups, and there will be faculty members leading them to organizations. So that day, it is you in town, you know, seeing something, because there are a lot of people who are actually coming from rural Ghana who are here. And you'll be shocked. Many of them have not entered a big organization before. And so you want to be able to take away that phobia of even letting students be able to do that. The other is what I talked to you about, the corporate executive in residence, which we are getting a lot of people come and talk to us. We also use part-time lecturers a lot. We use people who are in the industry who come to teach on our programs. There are people from Bank of Ghana who teach. There are people from almost everywhere who are teaching for us on our executive programs as well. So I think we need to do more. There's no more that is ever enough. So we just have to keep doing and keep doing. As a school, we don't have a choice but to keep doing.
Let me get your thoughts on funding of tertiary education as well, not just on the student side in terms of the business school. I mean, there are some who have argued that, listen, maybe something can be done for even alumnus and even the corporate institutions to select certain very brilliant students and sponsor to the school as well. How do we get around this in trying to, again, get the right caliber of skill set for the industries as well? Do you think that maybe the time has come for industries to do more in terms of sponsoring people, even at the postgrad level as well, to come to school, upgrade your skills, and then come back to work? Because that good mind there, it's
one of the things that is my heartbeat, to be honest with you, because I came from a very poor background.
But you're a professor today.
My father was a village chief and a farmer. He was rich, but he died very early when I was here to even go to class 4. And so I grew up suffering to be able to go to school. I did everything that you can think about, including stealing Kobe in the Yeji market to be able to survive. So there are several people here, especially young ladies who are here who are under pressure. Once I was in the lecture teaching, and there was a young lady seated in the class, and for 30 minutes she didn't blink her eye. I trained as a teacher, so I look out for unusual behaviors in class. So after the lecture, I asked her to come with me to the office. So she followed me and asked her, what is the problem? She said, oh, there's no problem. I said, no, there's a problem. I want to know, because I want to help. And it's sad. The young lady said, my father broke my heart. And how did you understand? So what? He says, my mother died long ago. I live with my father. My father was sick in the morning. We were just the two in the house. I took my father in a taxi, and my father died in my arms. And he says, the thing that broke my heart was that, no, I won't tell the rest of the story. But, so you get a lot of people who are struggling. Schooling is very difficult. To combine work with school is so difficult. And I want corporate Ghana. I have instituted what I call the Dean's List, where we pick the brilliant students to give them support and to treat them like premier footballers, right? Ronaldo is protected, right? I want to have those people, protect them, get industry to invest in them. You know what? Check every year how countries, developed societies are coming to Ghana and picking our most brightest. They pick the brightest from Ghana and they give them scholarships and they never return here. So what it is that corporate Ghana must help. Ghana must help to invest in young people who are bright and to keep them. When this maths and science quiz thing, I said, look, companies need to adopt these young people and grow them so that we can do a 10-year, tracer study of where the science and maths contestants are. What impact are they making? Look at how wonderful these young people are. But oftentimes, you are not even able to trace where they are, what they are doing now, and all of that. And you have so many brilliant young people who are getting lost in the system. Let corporate Ghana help us. In many places across the world, it is corporate Ghana that is funding tertiary education. In Ghana, it's a very difficult conversation to have. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. It's a very difficult conversation to have. What we charge in terms of our fees for graduate programs is still very, even though it's very low.
So
we are the lowest.
It's very expensive, Prof. I was speaking from experience. It's quite expensive, Prof.
Well, you see, I was telling somebody that I met one of my colleagues, Dean, in a Dean's meeting. And then I was happy talking to him about how much I pay my faculty. And then he looked at me and smiled and said, I paid $2,000 an hour to my MBA lecturers. And it was like the F should open and swallow me. Because I don't pay anything, miles and thousands of miles close to what he pays. Our fees are less than $2,000 in its entirety for the semester. All right, for regular programs, it's as low. In fact, people are paying 1,900 cedis for the whole academic year, the undergraduate programs. Even that, people are still not able to pay. So the point is that industry needs to support and invest and get us. In fact, one of the things that industry can use as a way of getting us to be accountable is to support academia. Because once you invest money into us, you can ask us for, indicators of what you think we should be doing. And then you can hold us responsible. Again, are we going to industry enough? Not really. And I think we need to be getting out a lot more.
And Prof, finally, as you wrap up on this program and draw the curtain, that you believe that we are getting there. In a minute, you think that we are getting there in terms of closing that gap, so that at least industries will then get the right skill set of people to come, and you also be happy and all these things have been done well.
I think that in terms of the awareness that we need to be able to get quality students out there, it's becoming almost undeniable. And the pressure has come on us, so intense. So that is why we are revising and making sure that we change to fit what industry wants. I think industry should keep the pressure on. I love accountability. But we would keep going to industry to ask for help when we need it, in terms of research funding. When we do our sessions of policy briefs out of our research, we want industry to take interest in it. We want industry to listen to us when we give predictions of things that would happen. We want industry to contract faculty from Ghana to do research for them that informs their policy and practice. And I think that once we get there and we can get money to do research, it impacts on how we teach, and then it will impact on the quality that we produce.
Thank you so much, Prof. We have to draw the curtain down. I've been speaking to the Dean of the University of Ghana Business School. The premier business school, and I'm also grateful to be an alumnus of this school. Dr. Curtin Dice being PM Express Business Edition, bridging the gap between the academia and the business community. Have a great day.